take your fears, your insecurities, your worries, you roll them all up into a ball, you turn those son bitches sideways and stick them straight up, then candy out!
Pick your goal and stick fucking to it. You wishy-washy motherfuckers. I can't fucking stand you.
I wanted to make sure that out of the 24 hours of the day, that I don't waste one single hour. Those hours were too precious. And so there I just want to tell people, don't give me this thing, I have a difficult time with the time and I don't have time for this and I don't have that. You have time. You make the time.
And now, welcome to the Be Informed, Live Fit podcast, sponsored by FitnessInformant.com.
What's up, everybody? Welcome inside episode 36 of the Be Informed, Live Fit podcast, sponsored by Raise Energy. I am your host, Fitness Informant, founder and CEO, Ryan Buck. I want to thank you guys and girls for stopping by to check out this podcast. Man, we are trucking along. I say that every week, I feel like, but every week a new episode comes up, a new episode comes out, and people are educated, they're informed on various topics within sports, within nutrition, within fitness, a lot of different fields. And today we have my good friend, and he's the director of science now at GAT. His name is Drew Peters. He's also known as the Vanilla Gorilla online. If you have interacted with Drew of any sorts on some of these online forums, you know how much of a humble guy he is, offering to give free advice all the time. Yes, he is a director of science. He's a very smart dude. He is a meathead. He loves fitness. He loves nutrition. And I wanted to get Drew on for a couple different things. One, we wanted to make sure that we got Drew on here because a lot of people within our community, within the Fitness Informant community, interact with Drew, and they haven't had an opportunity to really get to know Drew. So here's an opportunity to know Drew and what he's done. He's been with companies like VPX, Pro Subs, and now with GAT. He was at Supplement Reviews back when Supplement Reviews was basically created and started before it became the hot garbage it is today. So it was great to have Drew on. Drew also is the guy who does meal plans for us over at Fitness Informant. So it was nice to get his perspective on what we do as a society in terms of undereating. And we talk about that today in the podcast. And also, Drew and I are looking to do a podcast together as well because he has a very brilliant mind within science and nutrition. We both like to shoot people straight, no bullshit approach to any sort of topics of education or topics of fitness and nutrition. So that is a future project that we're working on. We want to make sure that on screen, on over a radio interview of some sorts like this or a podcast interview, that we had that collaborative effort that we both really appreciate. I'm excited for people to listen to what Drew has to say about, formulating for a canned beverage, an RTD, versus formulating for a shelf-stable powder. And for me, one of the personal favorite questions that I asked was like, Drew, I know where he comes from. I know how much he appreciates really good products, but having to formulate for I'm not going to call it watered down, because I don't think that's fair, but formulate for a margin-sensitive food drug mass, FDM. So if you heard the term FDM, that means food drug mass. So example, Walmart. There's a Mr. Hyde product on Walmart shelves. That's not the same Hyde that you would buy on like a bodybuilding.com or an Amazon. They're different formulas, and it's definitely not the same formulation as Hyde Icon, which Drew had a big hand in. So it's interesting to get his perspective on, listen, he has to formulate a version of their pre-workout at a lower cost of goods sold and able for them to be able to be sold at Walmart. And how do you put aside your pride that you have within formulation, and how do you put it, and how do you put business first? And at the end of the day, Drew really touches on that and discusses what that is. So a lot of really good nuggets of information in this podcast, a lot of things that you people listening to the show may not have known before. We talk about DMAA and stimulants, which I think is very interesting, and it's a great topic of conversation and something that Drew and I probably will actually hit on more with future podcasts that we do together. So that is who we have on the podcast here today. Stoked to bring Drew on. This week's Pumped Up segment of the week is being brought to you by Build Fast Formulas, award-winning VasoBlitz Pump Igniter. Not only is VasoBlitz the winner of our 2018 Shield of Excellence Supplement Award for Best Pump Product, it is also the first nitrate formula fully disclosed with 30 servings, not scoops. When VasoBlitz is consumed daily, even on your off days, it will last you a full month. All this for only $34.99. And as a special offer to our listening or viewing audience, use the coupon code INFORMANT and save 15%. I'm pumped up, guys and girls, because we are getting around middle tier of summer. We are through June. It's almost July already, which means I'm traveling. And your boy's actually going to be traveling out to New York City, New York, New Jersey area here the second week in July to visit a handful of brands. I'll be stopping by Spar Nutrition. I'll be stopping by Olympus Lifestyle, I guess I call them now instead of Olympus Labs. NutriBio, I'll be stopping by Muscle Sport, Kodiak, and Purge. I'm going to see if I have time to stop by Gasperi. There's a lot of cool brands out on the East Coast that I'm kind of doing my little FI East Coast tour, if you will, and that's in 2 weeks. So I'm actually going to be filming content for our YouTube channel. I'll be filming content for our IG, our Facebook, so you guys can stay up to date with everything that we're doing. It's going to be really, really cool stuff. And, I know all these people with these brands. I work with these brands. These brands are really, really, moving forward in this industry. But I'm really excited to see their operations and how they work as a brand, and specifically, what their visions are for the future in terms of innovation and the future for the brand. So there's a lot of cool stuff going to be coming out of that. Make sure you guys are following us on our social media channels. Instagram, we're at Fitness Informant. Obviously on Facebook, it's Fitness Informant. We're on Snapchat as well. And our YouTube channel might be a good thing to hit that subscribe button to right now if you're watching, if you have not done before. So I'm stoked about my big trip. There's other areas of the country in which I want to go. Obviously, we're going to be going to the Olympia in mid-September, representing FI there. It's going to be a phenomenal time with me and my team. And my team is expanding. Another thing that I'm pumped up about this week is we're adding females to the staff and having some females come onto the Fitness Informant team to help give more of a female approach to things, because I don't want to be the one speaking for everything on women, right? I think a woman is best suited to do that, and I know several women that are in my life that are really good in terms of fitness and nutrition, so it'd be interesting to get their perspective, so you'll start seeing them on our channels and on our website, basically contributing and providing more female-centric point of views on dietary supplements, fitness, and nutrition. So those things are really, really exciting for us, and I couldn't be more excited about the future of FI. Be more excited about my travel plans here in a couple of weeks. The Genius Moment of the Week this week is being brought to you by the Genius brand. The Genius brand offers high-quality supplements with scientifically proven, clinically dosed, all natural ingredients. With a blatant disregard for profit margins, the Genius brand focuses on creating innovative, industry-leading wellness supplements to help you live an active, healthy, and long-lasting life. Supplement smarter today. Check out full reviews and news on the Genius brand over at fitnessinformant.com. This week's Genius Moment of the Week does not pertain to fitness per se, but pertains to your personal core group of friends. And I've been talking about this on Instagram for the last couple of weeks, but and Drew, who's on the podcast, actually did something on this recently too. But do you realize, like, you most resemble and you are most likely to act and behave like your 5 closest friends? That's true. So who you surround yourself with can actually shape and mold you into the person that you're going to be. So take a hard look at the people around you. It's hard because sometimes you need to cut ties with people closest to you. But are those people successful? Are they driven? Do they have a work ethic? Do they want to achieve more in life? Because if that's what you want, you need to surround people with with very similarities that you have. For me, for instance, like my friends, my close friends, they're very driven. The people I talk to, they're driven. They want more. They're not okay with being average. They're not okay with being content. They just want more, and they strive for more in life. And that is important, because if you're going to have people who just sit back, kick up, and relax and don't take things seriously, then you're probably going to do the same exact thing. Now, you can talk about this in fitness, right? If you're listening to this podcast and the people that you associate with the most aren't physically fit or aren't physically active, that's not to say they're bad friends, but that's to say that could go ahead and influence your decision to be physically fit and your decision to be physically active. My best friends work out, go to the gym, take care of themselves. It's important to me that I surround myself with people like that, because those are the people that want more in life. So the Genius Moment of the Week is not maybe about how much weight you should eat or how much weight you should lift, or how much food you should eat, but who you should surround yourself with in your life in order for you to be productive, goal-oriented, and solution-driven. That's really where you want to be if that's the type of person that you are, because that's the type of person that I am. I don't want to go on for a long time this morning. I think that this afternoon, whenever you're listening to this podcast, I want to get over to Drew, because Drew and I, like I said, have always had a good friendship digitally. And I mentioned at the end of the podcast, Drew and I have never met in person. And it seems weird because he'll take shots at me online in a friendly manner. Like, it's totally cool. Tell me to get on my step stool to talk to him or whatever it might be. It doesn't bother me because Drew knows my personality. But we were basically connected via digital networks only. And then we actually had a phone call last week, and we've been discussing doing a podcast together. And today's podcast that you're going to watch or listen to is the first time that we actually met digitally, face to face, like via Skype. We have never done that before either. So I think we got along and collaborated very well. I think the podcast is very enjoyable. I think you're going to take away some nuggets of information and be able to apply to your life. And I think you're going to be able to understand a little bit more what goes behind the scenes of sports supplementation formulation, because that's what Drew does, director of science over at GATS. So I'm going to quiet down, get you over to our interview with Drew Peters, the Vanilla Gorilla. Subscribe to our podcast if you're on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. Make sure you follow us on all our social media channels and enjoy the shit out of this interview with the Vanilla Gorilla, Drew Peters.
The BAR Breakfast at the Ready is finally here. The world's first protein bar made with real cereal pieces from some of your favorite cereals and the best cereals of all time. This bar has 20 grams of protein, only 20 grams of carbohydrates, with 5 of them coming from sugar, and 4 grams of fat, 190 delicious calories that you can fit in at any time. Any person can take this bar, man, woman, child. Whether you're working out, you're training to build muscle, or you just need a healthy snack throughout the day, the BAR is your solution. Go to redcon1.com and order the BAR Breakfast at the Ready right now.
With the amount of hard work that I put in, I need a reputable brand.
I absolutely love this stuff.
The energy is amazing. The pumps are ridiculous. The flavor is absolutely delicious.
I was blown away by the amount of energy, the muscle pump.
It keeps me going throughout the day.
Take your workouts to the next level.
The energy was so crazy for me.
Really gives me the boost I'm needing in the morning.
You will train harder. You will see better pumps. You will go longer in the gym.
The quality of the ingredients makes a difference.
Try Rise. You're going to love it. I guarantee it.
Their products are top of the range, and I'm very proud to be a part of Team Rice.
For the last 2 decades, we have been the best kept secret of the supplement industry. We've kept our heads down and worked. We pioneered full label transparency and full therapeutic doses because we believe that truly hard work requires truly effective tools. 2 decades is a long time to commit to one pursuit, but when you act with purpose and become centered in yourself, eventually you realize that you were born and bred for this. The things you once thought impossible, you now do every day. We don't like the easy way, it just doesn't feel right. We'll take the long, hard road over a shortcut any day. It takes longer, sure, but in the end, you know you earned it. And with the right team behind you, pushing yourself further than you've ever been would be just another afternoon doing what you love most.
I've spent most of my life chasing what's termed as unattainable. An obstacle in my path, I torment it. Any limitation trying to control my environment, I tame it. Any excuses, I transform into commitments. The haters, they're too small for me to even see. For 28 months before Cage Muscle even released, I broke myself against the will to identify, track, test, and trial the ultimate resources available in human existence to bring you something the world has never seen. Change is upon us. Don't justify your complacency. Evolve with me. Part animal, part machine. I'm Chris Gethin, and I am Cage Muscle.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the jungle. That might be a little preface for something coming up in the future. The guy across the screen from me here via YouTube, or if you're listening on iTunes, is the Vanilla Gorilla himself, Drew Peters. If you guys don't know that name, A, you've been living under a rock. You're not with part of our self-made barbell brigade. But Drew has a long history in sports nutrition, and the dude's like barely 19 years old. So what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing well. Donated some blood earlier, keeping the peace, keeping the hematocrit in check, all the anabolic meatheads typical Sunday, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd say most people look at you and say, okay, this dude's an anabolic meathead, but he probably has a brain the size of a Tic Tac, and that's not the case, right? But we get that all the time looking the way that we do. First off, Vanilla Gorilla, is that self-given or did you earn that from somebody?
Honestly, that's actually accumulation of things. I know this would be a first question to ask, actually. A lot of people are like, where the hell did Vanilla Gorilla come from? Everybody's like blown away. The short backstory to this, back in, I believe, 2014, late 2014, God forbid, I worked out at Lifetime Fitness in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
And, typically this is my small Vanilla Gorilla days, but still, one of my friends, he was on the treadmill, and this guys and an older couple were like, man, they're watching the weight room. The guy looks like a pissed off gorilla. And just speaking to me, and just he starts like dying laughing. And it kind of spawned from there. And they go, hey, Vanilla Gorilla, like that. And it literally is stuck. And next thing you know, I have people like CEOs of companies like, hey, we need to get the Vanilla Gorilla to formulate something. So it's kind of stuck. And I'm not going to disown that badass nickname.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, literally for like the last year, I've been trying to think of a cool nickname for myself after hearing yours. I can't think of one. I mean, you just call me a midget. That works. But a muscular midget, we can do that every day. So you were me like 7 years ago, or whatever the fuck it was. I mean, you were at Supplement Reviews. You pretty much took that website, built it to what it was before it all went to shit, is how we like to talk about it. How'd you get involved with Supplement Reviews? And at that time, it was Tommy. How'd you guys get involved? And like, what was the plan for that website? Because when Supplement Reviews came out, like Stacked was there, Price Plow was kind of there, but there really wasn't anything like in depth in terms of what you guys did at SR.
It just happened organically. A long story short, I broke my wrist as a senior in high school in wrestling. I had a broken scaphoid in my wrist, had 2 surgeries on it. And so me, in high school and my freshman year of college, I'm like, oh man, I can't live forever. So then I was newer to supplements. I'm like, man, what can I take to help me get back faster? So I started researching supplements, I started just searching the web, and I stumbled across this horrible wireframe garbage website called the supplementrating.com. And they had this Q&A thing with people asking questions. Oh, when should I take my no explode? When should I take creatine? All these Q&As. I'm like, hey, I got a broken wrist and I'm bored, so let me answer questions. And I just kind of dove in. And this site was called thesupplementrating.com before we bought the domain Supplement Reviews. Mm-hmm. It was kind of built from there. We added a forum. I kind of gave him feedback. And then lo and behold, about a year later, just contributing for free as a moderator, he brought me on full time and became COO of the company. We started doing the Olympia Expo, Arnold Expo. We created the Supplement Review Trooper program for having people send products to build the reputation. It was an unbiased review site. We had something really special, keep it unbiased. We took no shit in terms of having unbiased reviews. Right. Fast forward 2015, there's this differences in which direction we thought the site should go. It even started in 2013. I'd been kind of pulled away from it. People wanted me to start consult for their brand in terms of helping them grow their brand, and that's how I started my adventure into formulating and doing the research. So it was a launch point to know the brands, to of course get that exposure, to learn the industry. But then at the end of the day, I'm a science guy at heart. So it was the next step to kind of get out of that anyway, to be a formulator. And then if I'm making stuff for a certain company, I can't be unbiased. So it's like, splitting that divide. But it organically happened. And next thing you know, looking back, I see you doing reviews on subs.com back in the day.
Yeah.
The young Ryan. Right. And like, shit, man, I see so much of what supplementreviews.com used to be and could have been. Right. You've grown this brand into like this huge thing. I remember a couple years ago, actually very specifically, some of the guys at ProCeps, before I was at ProCeps, asked me, hey, have you heard this Ryan Bucky guy? He wants me to send him some stuff. I'm like, actually, yeah, I know exactly what that is. I think he manages Cascadian Farms or some shit. What the fuck's he want? Yeah. And, your site wasn't the size of it now. Now you have people coming to you versus like, hey, can you review our stuff? They're knocking down your door versus, hey, you guys got to review your protein? The tables have turned, my friend.
It's interesting how that works too, because you and I, obviously, you have a science background. I have a business background. Like, I broke into the sports nutrition industry through another website and then FI. But to your point, people reaching out now asking to consult. What do I think of these formulations? I don't got a fucking science degree, but I've read enough. I've listened to enough people to understand things that work. Am I perfect? No. Are you perfect? Probably not. But we're trying to get better every single day. And so what made you decide to go science? And within specifically, obviously, you loved exercise. You loved working out. Sports, so that's kind of like a natural progression into maybe the sports industry world, but science isn't attractive to everybody. It's hard. To comprehend that type of material takes a special person. So at what point in your life did you realize like you're interested in science of things, and then that brought you here?
I actually know the exact point of that. When I was actually a sophomore in high school, I was in the weight room during the summertime, and I was into lifting just for sports, and I can't remember what it was. Someone was doing I think curls or something.
Sure.
It looked like an idiot. Mm-hmm. I was like, hey, what you should do, well, you want to keep your elbows in at this, and one of the girls being a smart ass, oh, you should be a boy. What are you, a personal trainer or something? I'm like, huh. It dawned on me that's what I wanted to do. Is what, I really like fitness, and right at the college age. Initially, as a sophomore, I toured the University of Nebraska Lincoln with the Huskers,
yeah,
and School of Architecture. I really want to be an architect, so I go there, I tour, and the funny story is they're like, hey, okay, so you took the college, and like, okay, 4 years as your undergraduate, then they have a 2-year master's program, then a year-long internship. And I'm like, man, fuck that, I don't want to go to college for 7 years. So me going to college for 6 years for 3 degrees, I'm like, fuck, I could be an architect, but
yeah. So what degrees do you have today?
I did a double majors in undergraduate, exercise science and dietetics, and then a master's degree in exercise science with an emphasis in physiology, kinesiology.
Okay, so when you took your first job, postgraduate school job, was that still with SR?
I was in supplement reviews from all the way from my undergraduate all the way through grad school, and then after. So it helped pay for my college, making some bank, working for my dorm room.
For sure, yeah, absolutely, especially because you guys were primarily the only site for that type of stuff. All right, you get the first job, a big boy job then. Let's say supplement reviews was not a hobby. You're getting paid, obviously, but going to a corporate umbrella, was that VPX?
Yes, it was. So that was initially Stephen Adel. He ran Isotory. They got acquired by a different brand called Fit Life Brands, and they were looking to bring me on back in mid 2015. Long story short, that fell through. And lo and behold, out of all people on LinkedIn, I get an email from Jack Olak asking for my resume. I'm like, okay. So I send him my resume. He responds back, and he's like, hey, okay, we have an opening, a creating position for the product development manager and scientific editorial manager. I'm like, I was confused. Like, he sent me an email, and I'm like, is this a job offer? He's like, yes, it's a job offer. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know you were hiring. So lo and behold, I'm on a plane, never been to Florida before. I fly down there, and he comes in 45 minutes late, per Jack Olak style.
Sure.
He's a cool dude. And he sits down, he starts talking about the company. I'm like, okay, cool. Oh, yeah, so what do you think? I'm like, so do I have a job? Or he's like, of course you have a job. I'm like, yeah. So he liked that I asked for him. I want the job. I'm like, okay. So lo and behold, I get in my car a week and a half later, having never been to Florida, and moved to Florida. So
was that Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, right?
Yeah, I lived in Fort Lauderdale, specifically Pembroke Pines.
Okay, I know where Pembroke is. Yeah. All right, man. So I love talking about Bang. It's my favorite thing to talk about on the internet, as people know. Listen, I have no issues with actual the Bang, whatever. It's fine. My issues lie within the marketing of the product. You guys know that.
Yep.
You helped formulate some flavors of that. What's are you able to tell us which ones you've had a hand in?
There were some of the not the initial flavors, but some of the first ones. I branched out from the original 5. I was there. We helped them develop the sour heads, the black cherry vanilla, and the cotton candy were the 3. And of course, right when I got there, we were also making the can look like what it is today. I mean, people say whatever they want about Jack. The guy's brilliant. He's making billions of dollars off this drink. You can hate on success all you want, and I've never had a problem with the guy. He's just interesting stories, but I have nothing negative to say. He's just an interesting individual, and it's not my, I guess, recommendation to work there if you don't have thick skin. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you should have thick skin to work in this industry anyway, for the most part. Yeah. It's kind of very ego-driven. So, formulating for a beverage, a shelf-stable beverage with liquid versus formulating with a shelf-stable powder. Big difference?
It's huge. Honestly, when it comes to liquids, there's nothing, in my opinion, that's really novel about making these drinks, because the thing is, it comes down to what you can put in solution. The actual having a product that you can hit for cost of goods, it makes it feasible to do. Even at companies I've been like, hey, we want to launch a drink. I'm like, I understand. Do you know how much goes into making a drink? It's not like we're going to get a powder quoted out of Coman, 2,500 units as an MOQ.
Right.
You're talking super long lead times. If you can find a co-man, like for example's sake, I may or may not be working on a project that may or may not be a carbonated beverage, that may or may not be looking for a co-man, and I've sourced some. Even if you best case scenario had a formula today, you're not getting line time to run your drink until September.
Right.
Okay. And that was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. So
the thing is, you're a small drop in a very huge ocean in terms of what it takes to get a drink done. Yeah. So the co-man's a big commitment. Like in most places, you're looking at about 250,000 cans. That's about 16,000 cases if you have a 15-pack. So that's a lot of cash up front. So you're sourcing cans individually, your individual components, sucralose, your acids, flavor systems, can lids, and that's a whole nother sector. So there's basically 4 moving pieces, and it's It's huge.
Yeah.
And just to put this in perspective, when we were at ProSups working on Mr. Hyde, the place we had it made the day before made 262,000 cases of Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yeah.
That's not bottles. 262,000 cases. It's like, how much? And we're here making 16,000 cases. It's like, to put that perspective, how small you are when you're launching a drink. But
and to your point, being slid into the scheduling, the production schedule, you get pushed back. You get treated differently at 16,000 cases versus 250,000 cases. Like, I dealt with that in corporate America, having a small brand too. That's why brands like, you look at Raise Energy, they bought the shit and brought it in house because they wanted to make it in house. It's a big risk to take because this is a tough space to compete in, especially with Bang, Monster, Red Bull, etc. But so you mentioned Bang, you helped formulating that. Mr. Hyde was a big thing for Pro Subs. Obviously DJ Khaled was part of that. You were all part of Pro Subs when that happened. How was that experience for you, being down in Texas of all places, working for that crew?
Honestly, that's one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. There's no place on it like that in the world, I would say. Just, it's a grassroots culture. It's built from literally four guys sitting at a kitchen table. TJ, Ike, this great dudes, and they had this dream of taking this brand and building it what it is today. The brand's only I think 8 or 9 years old. I think it was started mainly in 2011. Just how it's catapulted itself. It's very cool. I mean, I typically, people get the joke, like, man, you look like you work for ProSups, the sleeves, the earrings, everything like that,
right.
That rugged look. It is definitely a bodybuilder culture. And it was cool. Got some very cool opportunities to work with some very interesting athletes. We had Sean Roden signed before he won the Olympia. He left ProSups before that, but still, you had the former Mr. O. We had, of course, opportunity DJ Khaled. Mixed feelings on that. Let's put that all around. Those mixed, but
sure.
It was still cool, man.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's neat. I mean, because I like the position you had at ProSups because you guys had a varying degree of what I call quality supplements for different consumers, like different target consumers, right? You guys had a Hyde for Walmart. That's a different formula than your Hyde that you have in maybe Dick's or online versus the Hyde Icon that you formulated or had a hand in formulating before leaving ProSups. So that was something I'm interested in talking to you about is when a CEO comes to you and says, Drew, I need you to formulate a version of this. It's a margin-based product. We need to hit Walmart's margins. And you're a guy of science, like you love quality formulations. How do you wrestle with that task when someone comes up to you and say, we need to hit this COGS to make sure we hit the price point, and you internally know it's going to be difficult as shit to do it?
Certain things are easier than others. If you're looking to make things with specific claims in terms of products like a test booster or something like, oh, this X increases testosterone based on one ingredient, you're locked in. One thing that's a way around that, especially for a food, drug, and mass, or lower COGS to work with to hit your cost of goods and everything like that. Sometimes you can kind of pick and choose. You can make formulas that work together in synergy. You can recommend, okay, take 1 to 2 scoops for, say, 2 scoops equals the efficacious dose, and you can base claims on that. Or you just kind of take a look at what's in the space. And interestingly, with the Mr. Hyde Signature Series, the FDM one, a scoop of that is literally stronger on paper than a full-strength scoop of C4 when it comes to the actives and the stimulant component. So some things you may have to have. Some things you can have same amount, or else you have to do an ingredient swap. Like, okay, think of an ingredient like a cheapened version of, say, anything where you can't afford to put in, like, say, teacrine or dynamine, but in that case you can put in like something cheap, like an herbal extract like Alpina galanga or an extra is the branded version of that, and you can make some swaps to have similar effects but make an effective product but at a lower price point. So, and sometimes it's just like, it's a pipe dream. Everybody wants to, my saying is, they want to buy champagne with beer money in terms of getting into it. So it can be frustrating, but yeah.
I look at back in when you were reviewing supplements for SR, right? So if you pick up the Hyde at Walmart, you're probably not going to like that. That's not for you. So that's why I find it interesting that you obviously did that for a long time, and now you have to formulate. And for me, I'm thinking, like, if somebody asked me to formulate something like that, I would have a very hard time doing it, but I also understand that I'm a professional and I have a job to do. So that was my biggest thing. Like, how do you wrestle with the emotional task of it versus the professional task? Like, are you happy with if something is not up to, say, a standard of Drew Peters that you would take, are you still okay with releasing that product?
No, but the thing too, step one, anybody out there listening to this right now, watching this, listening, whatever it is, if you aspire to formulate to do what I do, the first thing you have to be able to do is remove the emotion from the thing. Understand that it's a business and that your job, and here's the thing I'll tell anybody and everybody, you tell me what price point we have to hit and I'll make the best possible product to hit that price point. That's the goal at the end of the day. In my opinion, we have the best product on the Walmart shelf. It's the best product in that space for that consumer. We achieved it. It definitely is the best tasting. I flew across the country worked nonstop for 2 days in my flavor house, doing back and forth, knocking things out to make that flavor perfect. We had a 30-person consumer panel 2 days in a row, made sure the flavors are perfect. Everybody loved the flavor, did head-to-head comparison against the top competitors, and crushed it. So in my opinion, I'm not too upset about that product.
Sure.
It may be lower dosed compared to some other products, but if you're comparing it to, say, Mr. Hyde Icon, of course it's going to get crushed. It's a different price point, it's a different product. Right. But you compare it to anything else on that shelf, I'll put my money on it all day long because it's going to be a better product. And that's the key. You just have to remove yourself. And transition to Icon, on the other hand, that's something that's cool. Like if I were to make a product that I would want to release with my name on it, like that's my flagship. That's why I have more money to work with. That's the cool stuff. So it's give and take, and you have to understand that some brands are never going to be selling those premium products. There's some, I call them either commodity or, the more broad market brands. They're not worried about making these crazy products. They're about selling on margin and, just decent products. It's just, you pick your battles,
For you personally, if you're going to formulate a pre-workout for yourself, I mean, has a brand given you the opportunity, Drew, to say, I want you to formulate a pre-workout? Here's the price point, but I want you to formulate a pre-workout that you would take, not for the mass market, but for Drew Peters.
And that's what I made with that Icon. That's honestly one of the coolest things I've ever released, aside from the Dr. Jekyll Stim Free there. It's, in my opinion, one of the very cool, like a lot of times you see, a Stim Free pre-workout, people think they're not going to feel it. They think just pump. This has a blend of nootropics in it, lion's mane, alpinia galanga, and Solatius paniculatus, along with a novel ingredient called New Level, which is an arginine, silicate, and acetal, which has actually studies in gamers increasing cognition. You take this and you feel tunnel vision, you feel locked in, as grains of paradise, also known as Aphromomo meligueta. You get a nice sweat going, and it hits you. That's honestly, I would take that most days over a stimulant pre-workout. And most people are like, really? You feel it that much? I'm like, of course. Those two, I would say, are the favorite things I've ever actually got the green light to release and make. So that's awesome. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
You brought up stim free. I almost feel that has a negative connotation attached to it, especially in our stim heavy society that we live in now and that we consume on a regular basis. I've had some really good stim free pre workouts, really good. But I just think that word stim free turns people off from the get go, so they don't even give it an opportunity. Yep. What is our fucking obsession with stimulants, Drew? What happened? Because if you go back, Jack 3D obviously had DMAA in it, and you're stimmed out, so maybe it stems from that. But we've talked about it, 600 milligrams, 700 milligrams of caffeine. It's just getting fucking ridiculous out of hand. And as a formulator, and you see this in the industry, and we're supposed to be self-regulating, what do we do?
I'm so happy you just went to that segment. I was dying to say, I was going to text you oh my God, talk about this. Okay, So now we're going to take the gloves off here. People fucking understand this. What did you do before you had pre-workouts? Especially, what did you do before you had DMAA? That shit wasn't around in 1990s. I mean, God forbid, you think Arnold didn't get a good training session in because he didn't have fucking DMAA in a pre-workout? So let's walk through here. Pre-workouts got famous. You know what product that is, Ryan? I mean, I'm sure you can name it. What do you think it is that made pre-workout famous?
No Explode.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember taking that shit. I was a freshman in high school. That old pond scum, lemon lime no explode, the Chem 3 technology that didn't even exist. Pre-workouts got big. It made it cool, made it flashy. BSN hit a home run. Okay, everybody started making pre-workouts. Super Pump 250, aka Super Dump with the magnesium, making shit your pants mid-workout. And then lo and behold, I believe I want to say probably freshman or sophomore year of college, okay, 4 or 5 years down the road, you see the emergence of Jacked. Some people call it Jack 3D with geranium stem. Yeah. Now, that, in my opinion, started to be the downfall of pre-workouts as we know them today, because everybody got that feel for DMAA. That shit was in everything, like Frank's Red Hot. It was in thermogenics. It was in pre-workouts. I mean, you just see it fucking everywhere. Right. Anybody and everybody that made a product, even these little companies would have no products, but have a pre-workout with DMAA in it. So let me walk you guys through this here. The gray area with DMAA, okay, and so people following along here, is that DMAA is naturally found technically in nature in things like geranium stem. So therefore, how supplements are categorized, certain things, if they haven't been used for 1997, are considered a new dietary ingredient, and they don't have grass stash, so on and so forth. Therefore, they have to be approved. So there's certain stuff you walk on some eggshells, whether you can use it or not use it. If you're a small company, you can fly on the radar, so on and so forth. But when something that big gets on the radar, they're going to take a look at it. Mm-hmm. The issue is, to get the actual amount of DMAA out of geranium stem, it would take tons of material to get that active amount out of it. So therefore, either A, it's not going to be economically feasible, or B, it's just even production feasible to get out that actual extract. So therefore, most people label as geranium stem and put in synthetic lab-made DMAA. Mm-hmm. And that's the issue, is a synthetic amphetamine. Yes, it's an amphetamine, okay? Let's not take that lightly. And so everybody goes down the line. The next thing, okay, DMAA is banned. Now we're going to amp citrate. Now we're going to go to DMAA. So understand something for those that know the background on this. Back in the 1920s, 1930s, that's when all of these stimulants got developed. These aren't new. So what happened is back then, one or two companies had a kingpin on ephedra, okay? So in other words, to compete with ephedra, the similar effect, they started going to the chemistry cookbook. They're looking to bring out the DMAA, the DMHA, amp citrate, a laundry list of all these amphetamines. And lo and behold, somebody came along and said, hey, that's geranium stem. That says DMAA. I've heard of this. It's an amphetamine, and popped in the product. And then everybody kept going back to that cookbook for finding their stimulant, an exotic stimulant to replace DMAA. And that's kind of where we are today. Now, God forbid, people like, oh, and I troll people all the time, doesn't have DMAA, because, bro, you're not going to replace, things with like, an amphetamine. The same thing. If you're looking to take a test booster and compare it to like 2005 when you're taking Tren Excel from Excel Labs, what do you expect is going to happen? So it's the pro and con of our industry. It's brought a lot of growth. It's brought a lot of, followers. But then again, I can guarantee you the walls are closing in terms of what the ingredients you can use. There's not a lot of new innovation. I'll be the first to tell you, because the ingredients you can use are getting cracked down, getting smaller. New stuff isn't being invented every day. To me, the bridge comes from finding ingredients that haven't been traditionally used in the space, or things that haven't been looked at as closely. Different nootropics are big. And I'm not talking about things you can't use like synthetic Noopept or piracetam, things like that. Those are off the table. But things like lion's mane, Alpina galanga, Phylloxera paniculatus, those are all fantastic nootropic adaptogenic herbs. And I think using those things, different synergies, are going to make it really cool. Or somebody that's done something, a shout out to Chris Waldron of Inspired, finding ways to make functional products that people don't think of. Meatheads, they don't think of digestion. He made a great greens product. Meatheads don't think of joints, hair, skin, and nails. Well, I guess, my fabulous hair. But if you have a collagen-infused protein, now that's cool. You make high-quality products. And I think that's the direction things are going to be shifting, for having higher function to, just make basic products exceptionally well. Basic products make exceptionally well is a tagline, But we created a monster with all those stims. But I know I kind of got carried away with the backstory, but
no, it's good.
It's something people understand.
I think it's education. I mean, because we were just talking the other day, I think in that group that we were alluding to, the Self-Made Barbell Brigade group, a label was posted on Unicorn Farts, I believe is what the product was called, that I know you were very interested in hearing what the cost of that would be. And then obviously the new Hooligan from Apollon or whatever is at 720 milligrams of caffeine. And it's just, the companies, when their statement to back it is a little bit ridiculous in my standpoint. It's like, well, it's proven effective that up to a gram of caffeine is safe. Okay, up to a gram of caffeine per day, maybe over like 12 fucking drinks, or if you're taking 720 milligrams in one sitting, my God, but the thing is, people are proud of it. Consumers are proud. Like, I can take 400 milligrams of caffeine and don't feel a thing. Why are you fucking proud? You should not. You need to stop. You're hurting yourself. And I know you and I both respect Mark Laser a ton, and he posted like about caffeine, and caffeine's actually good for you, but there is a point of diminishing returns. Do we know what that is? At what level are we actually starting to hurt our gains and starting to actually constrict blood flow and starting to go against everything that dietary supplements are supposed to be doing for you?
In my opinion, there isn't one set number. There's going to be different individuals having different levels of tolerance. The different enzymes that basically metabolize caffeine can be different in everybody. Whether it be, some people don't metabolize caffeine as fast, so the list stays in them longer, hits them harder, a little bit goes a longer ways. Hell, even people with ADHD can take caffeine, have a sedative effect. So there's no cut and dry answer. But in my opinion, if you're able to use over say even 300 milligrams of caffeine from like a standard energy drink and you don't feel it, that's a fucking problem. And you need to take some time off, because in the long term, I mean, you're beating the living piss out of your adrenal glands. It's just not good. And I don't know why somebody would be proud of that. It's like, hell yeah, it's like, to me, I compare it's like, I can chug 12 beers and still be sober. You built up a tolerance. Like okay, good for you. Like, great, but shit, man.
Right.
It's just. You're exactly right. And the thing too, whether it be those synthetic stimulants, which are especially spooky, and let's be real, there's shit meatheads like, people take that are a lot worse than a lot of caffeine, some bathtub cooked anabolics. But when it comes to stimulants, if they're vasoconstrictive or causing issues with the prostate health, all that cool shit that nobody ever talks about, I said cool. Yeah, man, my fucking ED from taking DMAA for all these years. You know, people don't talk about that. They just want to feel cracked out the gym. But to me, it's counterproductive.
Yeah. It's interesting because DMAA is going to be interesting to watch because I know that the FDA returned back like millions of dollars back to Jared Weed of DMAA. It's still not good to go to use, but that guy does not quit. And kudos to him. Like, fucking fight the good fight all you want. That's your prerogative. It'll be interesting how that spans out. If it somehow comes back, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the industry. If it somehow is okay to use it, how many products flood the market with DMAA right away? Because, I mean, I can't imagine you guys are releasing one where you're going to be, but I know there's going to be a lot out there.
So this is it. The new flavor is in production as we speak. We've been hyped about this for months and the time is finally here. So let's go check it out. In here. This is it. Galaxy Burst. This flavor has a burst of candy with a hint of tart, leaving your taste buds begging for more. It's fruity and creamy, yet sweet and tangy. After months of testing and formulation, this galactic flavor is sure to take over the galaxy. Now let's give it a try. So good.
Hey, what are you doing?
Oh, time to go.
Texas. You may actually think you're holding a grapefruit.
I think we need a shark. Apparel and merch.
We would have given them ghosts if they asked. Hugh, you're crumbling out there.
Over the head, under the head.
Where's Ghost Greens at? A lot of big stuff happening in July, a lot of big stuff happening in August.
Hold it!
Just in case you don't know, we're the kids who own this skyline. I guess you should've known better than to.
Let's talk about your new position, Director of Science over at GAT. Interesting. It's cool. Like, so GAT is a very cool company, in my opinion, was once really big and then kind of like didn't hear a whole lot from them as a legacy brand. Like, what's the plan with you and your inclusion with that team over there and what you are looking to do moving forward?
I'm going to keep a lot of this close to the vest. I'm sure you understand being there at the start of my fourth week. We have a lot of stuff in the pipe work. I've literally locked myself in the conference room, taken the marker board wall, and I've laid out a big plan. We have a new VP of sales domestic. We have some very big ideas. He's been with a few very big bar companies. Some people know who it is, but I'll leave it at that. He's very, very good at what he does, and we have a vision. So now it's a matter of, I guess, getting the opportunity to kickstart the brand, take it in a slightly different direction while staying true to the roots. And that's the challenge anytime you come into any legacy brand. I had that issue at ProSups. I've had that issue at VPX. I'll have that issue here. And it's not a negative thing. It's that, you come in as an outsider with different ideas and you want to change things, but you have to find a balance to satisfy the legacy of the brand while bringing that new blood, that new idea to get the brand, kicked and going again. There's a lot of potential there to reinvent the brand while keeping it true. That's honestly why I went there, is because I wasn't unhappy at my last job. It's because I was given the opportunity to make a huge impact right away and to reinvent an entire brand with this a legacy brand. And that's honestly why I did it. It was a huge draw. So the plan is going to be have some new innovating products where they can fit, to do the products that we do now, give them a facelift, and to make some cool, I'm going to say in the category grab and go. Let's put it that way. We have some cool stuff coming. Some people should be nervous because have you played Red Dead Redemption 2? I have a plan, damn it. Fucking Dutch, I quoted an Xbox game in this snap.
Yeah. Dude, it's cool. I like it when, quote unquote, legacy brands don't just sit back, put their feet up and coast. I mean, they have for a long time. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of them. But you look at Muscle Tech, for instance, massive. They're starting to do some different things. And we just had Rich Gasperi on here. Obviously, that brand coming back underneath his control. They are doing things that you never thought Gasperi Nutrition would do. Bone broth. Like, who in their right fucking mind would think that Gasperi Nutrition would launch a bone broth product? But You have to, because a lot of these companies like Chris Waldron's Inspired are out there doing things, disrupting this industry. It's catching people's eyes. And the internet is making it so much easier to discover these brands and websites like ours and others out there. So when you look at what Chris is doing, obviously you and Chris are friends. We're all friends together. Do you take inspiration from some of these small brands, and does it drive you and get you going?
It does, and honestly, it pisses me off. I love what Chris is doing. I'm like, God damn it! Now, not to piss anybody's Cheerios, but I thought it like the greens formula with the nootropics. I talked about that probably a half a year ago, and he's like, nah, they wrote it off, and now look, he comes out with it. I'm like, God damn it, that's awesome. Props, man. That's what I've been literally saying. No, that's the best greens product that I've seen on the market. He did that brilliantly. Same with this protein, with the collagen infusion. Collagen is huge. Massive. And he found an intelligent way to get meatheads to want to use collagen. Like, hey, I'm not selling just the collagen. This is the protein you already use, has benefits, make you digest it better, and the collagen aspect. That was brilliantly done. I'm like, God damn it, because actually, not that once again, I didn't have the collagen aspect in there, but the protein we did with the probiotics and the digestive enzymes, I had maybe one or two components different. I had a very similar concept that's been sitting in the pipeline for about 6 months, and this didn't go anywhere. But he went out, he got it done, and that's awesome. And I was like, okay, checkmate, sir. I have another move that I have to make now because I still got to beat you. You're cool. I love your brand, but at the end of the day, I still got to make stuff to beat you. That's with anybody,
Is there any desire for you at some point in your life to have your own brand?
I've been asked that multiple times. It's always in the back of my mind, and a few key people that I've worked with have mentioned that to me. And in the back of my head, I'm building the team, like the dream team. Let's put it that way. I think it could be a possibility if we get the financial backing. I've been very fortunate to work with some very talented individuals. I already know who I would have as a co-scientist, /COO. I already know who I'd have as a VP of sales. I know who I'd have as a domestic or international VP of sales. And literally, I have all the key people, and I even 3 or 4 graphic designers. So I look in the mirror, I'm like, why the fuck don't I start this? Well, it's about money.
Yeah.
It's getting that because the thing is too, it's not about making great product. Anybody can do that without exposure and having all the right backing in it. It's gonna be rough, but. Yeah. I know how I'd do it and who I'd do it with should that happen.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, a lot of times companies don't know who the formulators are of these brands, right? You know the brands. You might know the CEOs. Like, nobody over at Redcon One really knows, or anybody who knows Redcon One knows really who formulates this product, but they know Aaron Singerman, right? Or Blackstone with PJ and whoever. I'm just bringing those two up because they're bigger names within the space. But a guy that was a formulator or a guy that was a scientist that put his name on the product is Gorilla Chemist, right? He's on Chemex now. He's out there, and he's kind of like building a brand based off his reputation. Are you, because you're very social online, man, you are engaged in many different groups, ours, but the NutriBio, like other competitors groups that they have, but you actually are not there spitting stuff for your own products. You're actually offering advice to help people. You're building a sort of a personal brand of sorts with the Vanilla Gorilla that at some point, someday, you potentially could do exactly that. Is that kind of the mindset that you're trying to build up your personality online so people are well aware of who the Vanilla Gorilla Drew Peters actually is?
First off, a lot of people do confuse us too. I mean, it's very Gorilla Chemist, Vanilla Gorilla. They assume we're the same person. I'm like,
sure.
Not so much, but it's all good. He's a
spelled differently as well, people. Spelled differently.
Like guerrilla warfare compared to like the gorilla in a cage. Correct. I like to be the one in the jungle.
Yes.
People have asked that before. Honestly, I think it'd be a cool segment here. This isn't just a self promotion, but I help people because I just fucking love it. I think I see a lot of myself out there. I see a lot of, you when you start out there, people asking simple questions, redundant things to some of us. But then again, you're like, you know what? They're asking this question because they generally want to know, they want to get better. They haven't thought of it before. And I do believe in building personal brand and a positive reputation. But the thing is, I just want to inspire people. I want to give a beacon of knowledge because, one, I do have nutrition coaching services. 2, as a formulator, as somebody that has a good image for a brand, or whatever brand I'm working with, I like to bring them good publicity. And you know what? I want to be out there and visible with the products that I make. And, if all that leads to having the buy-in, the visibility, the following, just to launch a brand, if that someday is a side effect, then that's cool too. But at the end of the day, what I truly believe is that if you're doing everything just for the money at the end of the day, you're always going to be chasing the next dollar amount. But if you genuinely love what you do every fucking day and put your heart into what you do, you're never going to work a day in your life. Sometimes I wake up and any of my bosses listening, no, you can't not pay me. But sometimes you're like, man, I get fucking paid to do this? This is badass, You're not working in a 9-to-5 office job, like shuffling papers. You're out there. I do something different every fucking day, whether it be formulating someday and then our next day I'm over next door in the lab, I'm building flavors out, or, there's someday I'm with the graphics team building out the new packaging. There's no day that's the same. And if you can leave your legacy to impact a brand positively, and of course have the dollar amount and how you impact it, that's awesome, man. Right. But you got to be passionate about what you fucking do. And I wake up every day and I'm like, hey, I'm feeling it. I have a nice job at the office every morning. Everybody watches my IG and my inspirational shit, and it's stuff from the heart, man. It's got to be out there and got to inspire.
A lot of people are gonna, they do it to me, and I know they do it to you too. But they're gonna think there's an alternative motive here, Drew. This surface Drew Peters that we see is not the real Drew Peters. You are in this for the money, right? Like, 'cause I get that all the time too. But sure, it's a logical assumption to make about people like you and I. It's a wrong assumption. It's not correct. But to the haters, what do you say to them?
You know what? I think of this from a different perspective. I don't even like using the word haters. I get so like, oh my God, I got haters. Well, here's the thing. If you truly do have haters, then you're doing something right. Because the thing that people don't like, it's not because they don't like you. I mean, sure, if they have a fucking problem with me, sure. Like I leave, no bridges burned. But the thing is, your fucking success makes them uncomfortable. They get upset because they're like, you know what? I could be achieving more. Why didn't I go out and do that? I'm reminded by seeing you being successful that I didn't do what I fucking need to do to get shit done. And at the end of the day, if you truly are out there and, want to make a positive impact, the way I tell people, you can tell who's full of bullshit. If somebody comes out and flat out says that, I think I spoke to the other day, people will see on the site there, you'll post something or I'll answer a question and be like, hey, why I've been at this, whatever, I've been losing weight or I'm not gaining muscle. And we respond, okay, where's your calories at? You give them a breakdown, it's 10 comments long. And people are shocked. They're like, okay, what's the catch? Like, you're just telling me this for free. Like, this is very detailed. Like, I'm waiting for you to pop in and try to sell them something. I'm like, dude, just trust me. If you want to pay me to do your diet weekly to be more specific, that's a different thing. But it's a problem in this industry where people will try to sell some of the most basic shit, whether it be Instagram trainers or goddamn awful products, whatever it is, and they're in just for the money. It's very clear. If anybody pops in with the intent of trying to sell you something, it'll be pretty fucking obvious. Like, oh, if I have the secret to gaining muscle, I have the secret to accelerated fat loss. My 5 tips, subscribe. It's just, that's the ulterior motive, But when you're surrounded by so much of that shit, it's just how you're going to be. People are going to assume you and me are the same, and it's whatever. I don't worry about that. It's the end of the day, if your intention, your heart's good, that's all that matters.
What I think is cool is, you and I are the same in the breadth of when somebody comes to us and asks us, what can I take to achieve X? Like, I need to put on 10 pounds of muscle. What supplement do you recommend? Or I need to lose 10 pounds of belly fat or whatever it might be. You and I never put supplements first. And we work with supplements every single day. Your first question is, what's your calorie intake, right? Why do people just assume that the dietary supplements are the magic pill? Because there's a killing. We're making a killing in this industry selling billions of dollars worth of dietary supplements. And I would say that probably 75%, maybe this is high, aren't probably reaping any of the benefits from that because they have nothing else. They don't have a good workout. They don't have a good diet. So they're just pissing money away.
That's exactly it. People always like attacking the lowest hanging fruit. Everybody, whether it be looking at a pro that competes, in that case, like, oh, I'd look like that too if I was on gear. Or people will think, oh man, the only reason I'm not getting big, they overthink the little shit, like the obvious little fixes, even though to me it's not obvious. Oh, am I taking my creatine at the right time? Do I need it pre, inter, or post workout? Yeah. Do I need 3.8 grams or do I need 4? And I think those little minuscule things are the reason they're not achieving their goal. When the thing is doing little things here and there, sporadically, is always going to get trampled by 1,000-fold by doing the right things consistently, day in and day out. That's the monotonous, easy, in my opinion, shit. Well, I guess it isn't easy, but the obvious things. Where is your calorie intake at? What's your diet like? Are you doing that every single day? When you train, are you actually going with intent, or are you just walking through the motions? Your cardio, are you doing it consistently, or are you actually breaking a sweat? Those little things, they're like the hard things to do consistently without getting bored or whatever, is the hard shit. Everybody wants to think, you know what, I don't have to fix that, but if I can find the right protein or the right pre-workout or the right creatine, that's going to fix it. And it's just like you said, everybody thinks this comes down to a supplement, but then again, if they worried about the 95% of the other shit that they're not doing correctly, they'd have far better results.
Yeah. You're 100%, and I'm going to do a little plug for you, and we work together in terms of offering customized meal solutions over that through the macro calculator. But people they'll get their macros, and then they'll say, okay, well, I'm trying to cut, so what fat burner can I buy for $40? Spend $60 on a meal plan or $80 on whatever that we have, because that if you adapt that as part of your life, you will see results. You're not going to be able to just take an over-the-counter fat burner and in 30 days see the results you're going to get from eating correctly for 30 days. Yep. So I think the listening people are watching this like, get your meals correct. And you have people like, I'll name Justin Bain, for instance. Like he's a guy that came through the platform, bought something through you, sings your praises. Everybody who's worked with you have sung your praises, and you do a good job with that. Science, working with ingredients, cool. Working with nutrient intakes and caloric intakes and nutrition plans, where did that passion come from? And were you nervous when you first started doing it?
It stems back. I also want to be complete. I mean, that comes more from my exercise science background and understanding just my love of nutrition. Honestly, even more than supplements and training, I love nutrition. That's one of my favorite subjects ever. That's why I did my double major dietetics. Alternate route, I've been a dietitian. But the thing is, too, I loved it specifically with athletes, and the supplements was appealing, and I just liked it. But I got into it initially in college. Of course, everyone wants to be put on muscle, losing body fat, so on and so forth. I didn't get into actual bodybuilding until I was toward the end of grad school. I was an athlete all the time, just doing all these different things. Like, hey, I need something to be competitive in. And everybody's, oh, why don't you compete? Why don't you compete? And I've always had a good build. I'm like, I don't know about that. And then lo and behold, I think I finally pulled the trigger of it when one of my exes actually did competitive women's physique. And I'm like, okay, cool. I guess I'm going to do this competing thing. And I kind of got into it and just put my toe in the water in this 10 minutes later, just dove in head first. I got fuck it. So we're bodybuilding now. And lo and behold, since then, fast forward 5 years, still into it. And along the way, initially, there's a huge difference between just basic nutrition and, of course, doing things manipulated wise in a bodybuilding diet. So I had to learn some ropes. I had a fantastic first coach. I worked with a local guy, just kind of changed my mindset about a few things. And you're always researching. I've developed my own systems, my own methods, but I'm always learning too. People I love listening to, I listen to John Meadows. Mm-hmm. I love listening to the late Matt Porter. There's Dave Pulcinella. There's another interesting one. Even stuff that Chris Aceto says, the guy that does all the Olympians. You can find bits and pieces, interesting perspectives. Some of it you're like, shit, really? And it just always evolves. The thing is, too, when you think you know it all, you don't know a goddamn thing because you're done learning, and you're not going to grow like that, and somebody's going to be better than you. So if you assume you don't know it all, but hey, I'm pretty confident in what I can do, you're going to be pretty damn good as long as you actually know what you're doing. So when I first got into it, I started obviously working with somebody. I had a few people that I did their diets for free. Like, okay, I know how my body works, but I'm a little nervous. I want to make sure I don't fucking ruin somebody. All right, I can help you through diet. Let's see how it goes. And goddamn, they transformed. Like, well, shit, I'm actually pretty damn good at this. And just kind of took off from there.
How many clients have you had that you found with are vastly under eating?
I can't say I've ever had one that was overeating. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Some of them is dramatic as like, okay, you got a 900 calorie increase, and next thing you know, they're torching through calories and they're down 9 pounds in 2 weeks. It's like, wow. Yeah, I think a lot of people, they just got cut up in that they keep cutting calories, and at some point they hit a sticking point. Like, well, shit, I don't know what to do. Well, you need to take a diet break. You need to let your body recoup. You need to ramp up your metabolism.
Yeah,
so
it's super interesting because most people don't understand the concept of homeostasis and what the body's trying to do on a consistent basis. And if you starve yourself, you can actually increase weight, which seems counterproductive or counterintuitive to like what you're trying to do. But what is future plans for you in terms of competing? Are you going to plan on stepping on stage anytime soon?
Honestly, I haven't thought that far ahead. I did 2 shows last year, November and December. I have a wedding coming up on August 17th. So right now, like, the focus is to stay lean. I'm focusing on off season, keeping as lean as possible, adding as much size as possible. So far, so good. And weddings are expensive, but so is competing. So it's not immediately on my radar. It's the stage is always going to be there. I'm happy with how I look, and I've made some really good, in my opinion, strides is off season, so I'm just going to ride it out. If I were to lay out a plan, I'd assume I'd probably start a contest prep maybe December, January for like a May show. That's kind of tentatively what I'm thinking, because I got the itch the last few weeks to start cutting up again, but we'll see how it goes. But that's one thing. People like, oh, when am I next show? Don't worry about that. If you're not ready to compete, like you don't have a nice muscle frame anyway, then don't worry about that. It's too far ahead. So stage is always there.
A month and a half, my man. You're going to join the club. So how it's cool. Most people don't know the personal story behind this, and it's neat. Like, you proposed at Miami Iron Gym down in Miami. You and Swole Kitty is what she goes by. So it's pretty cool that you guys are tying the knot here in August. You ready for this jump?
I sure am, man. I mean, we've been living together over coming up on 2 years by the time we get married. So everybody's, oh, it's different. It's different. I'm like, well, I don't see what's going to change besides, working, going to the gym, being badasses. It's just to change the title. We're already living together, but I do think I'm ready. She's an amazing woman. And yeah, the backstory too, she got trolled about a month before at my show in Dallas. There's a place here called Momo's Donuts. They're fucking fantastic. I had donuts delivered to the show. I went up and I had somebody record, hey, check this out, haha. And I went up with the box of donuts. I got on knee and I proposed with donuts. I'm like, will you have a donut with me? And she's like, the video went viral. It was like over 10,000 views on my IG. And about a month later, down in Miami, I had one of my friends like, hey, okay, so I'm going to propose at Miami Iron in the morning walk, because it's like the story behind that was her home gym. That's one of my favorite gyms in the country. We're both in, obviously competing. She competes at women's figure. She's really fucking good at it. Her next show will be nationals. She won the women's figure overall at Outlet, Texas. So she's better at this whole thing than I am. But I had my friend get donuts, hid him in the trunk of the car, drove down there, we trained. I'm like, hey, I had him like to distract her. Hell, he needs some pics taken over there. She's like, oh, okay, sure. So I went out to the car, grabbed the donuts, I had the ring in my pocket. And so and behold, she comes walking over, I have the donuts. And she's like, okay, here we go. And ha, ha, ha. And I had that the guy recording the whole time. And boom, the donuts are cool. Bam, pull out the ring. And I think it's genetically ingrained when girls get proposed to, they have to do this. Yeah. Sure enough, it happens. Still give her shit to this day. She's like, I'm not that girl. I'm like, well, the video says otherwise.
Yeah. Dude, it's good stuff. I mean, just show that this guy that you're listening to on this podcast is a fucking human being. So, yes, he's a scientist. He's a meathead. He's a human being. He's a great dude. That's why you and I are looking to start our own podcast together, and we're going to plan out the finer details of this and hopefully launch it soon, because I think you and I can do some really cool stuff together on another podcast, bringing in guests. And speaking on real shit, we've talked about that. Like we and I are both about no bullshit, just speaking about the real, honest truth, and that's what they're going to get from the podcast. We'll obviously release more details on this as it comes closer. But dude, I appreciate you coming on this show, finally being on my podcast, and then we'll get our podcast going, and we'll start hurting some people's feelings, but hopefully they can take the education we lay down and apply it to their lives and just become better, because I'm tired of the weak society that we live in at sometimes, and people are always making excuses. The only excuse you can make is none. Get your ass up and do something. So, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you coming on. And we'll do this again very soon on our own.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm beyond excited. And yeah, people, it'll be something very special. You had a good report today. And Ryan, quite honestly, we're like, hey, we want to make sure we don't fucking hate each other online before we commit to a podcast. That's it went pretty well. So it'll be raw, it'll be uncensored, it'll be brutal, but it'll be good fitness related stuff about fucking life, working out, and smashing protein shakes. I guess I'll let it there because we're both married. So
the last note I'll say is most people probably think that we've been friends forever, and we've been like digital friends. We literally talked on the phone for the first time in our lives a week ago, and this is the first time we've ever had a face-to-face conversation like via. We've never met in person, so it's just
he just sends me nudes.
The power of the interweb. So, all right, brother, appreciate it.
Of course.
Guys, that concludes our interview with Drew Peters, the Vanilla Gorilla. I hope you guys are excited about the future of the podcast between the two of us. I believe I have a name for it, and just stay tuned for more details. We'll actually push it out through the Fitness Informant channel, so that way you guys are more well aware of what's going on. But Drew brought a good perspective to the show, and I hope that you guys are able to have a better understanding on what goes on behind the scenes within sports nutrition and how Drew thinks. Like, he doesn't want to be pigeonholed by a certain ingredient like DMAA, which I think is refreshing and it's invigorating is the word I'm looking for, because he seeks the next best thing. So Drew's a stand-up guy, really good guy. I like Drew a lot. Him and I, like I mentioned in the opening, and like I mentioned here at the end towards the podcast, have been connected for a while. So it was great to finally do this. I'm stoked. I'm stoked about a lot of things going on within this space right now. I'm stoked for summer. I hope you guys are stoked for summer. A lot of cool stuff going on. We're working on our transformation challenge information, so keep that in mind as well. Emails will be going out, as well as social media posts, which will discuss the 2019 Fitness Informant Transformation Challenge, because last year's was epic. It was really, really good. So do us a favor, subscribe to the podcast if it's the first time listening. It's on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and fitnessinformant.com. Go ahead and write us a review if you can. If you liked what you heard today, it helps out the algorithm so more people can discover this Be Informed, Live Fit podcast, as that's what we want to do. We want to help touch, reach, and inspire more people throughout the world through our educational wisdom that we can provoke, that we can talk about and communicate over to the public to inform you so you can live better versions of your life. Make sure you follow us on our social media channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. Obviously, our official website, fitnessinformant.com. Until next time, I'm FI founder, CEO Ryan Buckeye. Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. Hang loose, be informed,